Good morning, afternoon, or evening. My name is Albert Jones, and we are back for another episode of the SCEA Movement. As always, co-host Todd Show is with me. Todd, how are you doing?
Hi, Albert. I'm doing really well, enjoying this beautiful spring weather in the Carolinas, and getting a lot of work done and moving everything forward. So good to see you again.
Absolutely. It's been a busy month last month with another busy one coming. Today, we'll find out who our next State Teacher of the Year is as well. So
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to hear that. And so one of the things that we'll be talking about today with our guest is kind of her journey through education. And today we have Memminger Coon with us. And she is an education guru who started in the profession out of Lexington, South Carolina. She is a senior at the College of Charleston and graduating in May with a degree in early childhood education. She is currently serving as the president of that College of Charleston chapter of the South Carolina Education Association. So she's a teaching fellow, she's a teacher leader at the college, and she is also completing her student teaching through the Urban School Synergy program at Memminger Elementary in the first grade, and she's loving every minute of it. So after graduation, she's coming back home to the Midlands to begin that education and teaching career. Megan, how are you doing?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here and happy to see you, even if it's on Zoom.
I know. So when I first started this role, I met you at College of Charleston leading a meeting with Dr. McCorkle and kind of got to know each other and build this relationship over the course of this semester. I would love for you to kind of tell the listeners and the viewers a little bit about yourself, your history with education, and all of those things.
Yeah, of course. So like Albert said, I am from Lexington, South Carolina. Both of my parents are in education, and I always swore that I would never be in education. And then I got to high school and I started teacher cadet, and I was in a second grade class, and I just figured out that this was for me and this is what I needed to be doing. I applied for teaching fellows, and I ended up getting teaching fellows, and I got it at College of Charleston, and I have loved every single minute of it here at CofC. It's been a great journey and just really building, who I am as an educator, finding my beliefs, kind of finding those people to surround myself with as I enter the education field.
I want to give a shout out to your dad, Bill Coon, who's I met through my work at SCEA, and he's at Meadow Glen Middle School. Really great guy. I was talking with Megan before we went on, and he's like the only person that I've met who really makes me feel short. Who's not like I've met basketball players, but I mean, like I look up to him like, oh, hi, this is what it feels like to look up to people when you're talking. But shout out to your dad. Your story is similar to mine. I was coming up in high school. I was like, I'm not going to be an educator. Both my parents were teachers, and I said, I'm just not doing that. And then I took that teacher cadet program, and it helped kind of spur the thought to go into education. Who was your teacher cadet instructor?
Miss Watson at Lexington High.
At Lexington, okay. So shout out to Miss Watson. So what was the sort of? I know that you said going into second grade. Were there other people? What were the thoughts that you were going through that kind of made you decide that you definitely wanted to go into education?
Well, I didn't really have a backup plan. I did not see myself doing anything really when I was in high school. Couldn't really figure it out. And then like I said, in teacher cadet, just the relationships you build with the kids, I just fell in love with that. How much of an impact you can have in just such a short time. And I was in that classroom in particular for such a short time. And I just saw how those relationships were built so fast, and how much the kids love on you, how much they teach you, and just how much you can learn from them, even though you are the teacher. So I think relationships, that's my number one reason to getting into education. I want to be the teacher that I loved growing up, and I had great teachers growing up, and I want to do the same for the kids that I get to teach in the future.
I love that. I love the connection you make to relationships, and kind of that's how you and I started out, getting to know one another. As you transition into a new role, Can you talk a little bit about how your role in the relationships and the things that you've done as our president of the College of Charleston chapter, kind of how that helped support your growth as an educator as you got ready to go into the classroom?
Yeah, so the College of Charleston, I think they had an education or SCEA chapter a few years back, and then the instructor left, and so it just kind of fell apart. And so Dr. McCorkle, one of my professors, really wanted to get it back going. And so he asked me and a few other students if we would be on the leadership team. And I was a little bit voluntold to be the president, and I have loved it though. I had a great team. Alyssa, she's great. And we just we wanted to see what people who were going to join the Aspiring Educators chapter at CofC, what they wanted to see, what they wanted to learn about, what we thought the most important issues were to us. And that's kind of how we built it, I would say. We tried to do one meeting with a speaker a month, and then one kind of like chill, just kind of hanging out, meeting to get to know each other. And so I feel like making connections, it really helped me make connections, and it really helped me learn more about, what's currently happening in our state. As a teaching fellow, I'll teach here for at least 4 years. So I just really thought that I wanted to learn more about what was currently going on in our state in education. And I think the speakers that we brought in really opened my eyes and opened a lot of people's eyes to what's going on, and helped us learn more about the education in South Carolina right now.
Megan, you're one of the best and brightest, and that's, the teacher cadet program's designed to, and the teaching fellows program to attract the best and brightest in South Carolina into the profession. And it's becoming increasingly more difficult. I'm sure you're aware, and you've probably heard that the number of young people entering teacher education programs has been declining, and you're bucking that trend. As you look forward, as you start off on this career path, if you could speak to state legislators and say, here are the things that are going to help keep me in the profession long term. This is going to help me stay in the classroom for 30 plus years. What would you identify as some of those things that they can do to support you?
That is a hard question. I think that, of course, everyone's going to say the pay. Obviously, that's really kind of a no-brainer that the pay would keep more teachers in the profession. I also think just support, even as a college student, sometimes when you tell people what you're majoring in, you get a look, or they ask you if you really do you really want to do this? Like, do you know what that entails? So that never feels great. But I think, again, like surrounding yourself with those people help build you up. But if I was going to talk to legislators, it would definitely be about the pay, teacher support. And I would say in an elementary classroom, some more time to planning and uninterrupted planning time. And, we don't get a lunch break. There's a lot of people that think that we get a lunch break, and that's kind of been eliminated with COVID, not eating in the cafeteria and things like that. We never got a lunch break, we had those 35 minutes to plan while the kids were at special area. And other than that, we are on it for 8 hours a day. And I think that's a lot. I saw that in, the schools I was in Charleston County. That takes a toll on teachers, takes a toll on your mental health. You don't really know, like at the end of the day, you're just spent, and then you're expected to go to a second job because you need to pay the bills at the end of the month. So I think those would be my biggest issues that I'm a little nervous about going into education.
Perfect answer. Good.
So I kind of want to hear about some of the lessons that you've learned, and not even just from what you've learned from College of Charleston, but from your experience as a person who has been in classrooms, seen other educators. What are some of those lessons that you've learned and that you will take away as you enter into your first year of teaching?
Yeah, so my time at college kind of got a little bit cut short. We weren't allowed to go in the classroom with COVID and everything. So I feel like that in a way, I don't have as many experiences as I would have if COVID was not a thing. So that's a little bit stressful, but I would say the main lessons that I took away is at the end of the day, like what you're doing, it needs to be the best for the child. It doesn't need to be the best for the test scores or what would be the best for what you put on social media or what the school wants. I think that you need to always keep your children's interest in mind and what's going to be the best for them. Like, is it going to be testing them 18 days out of the school year, or is it going to be making sure they have social emotional learning time and the correct social emotional curriculum in the classroom? I mean, I only can speak in an elementary point of view, early childhood specifically. But I think that that was a big lesson that sometimes, when adults get a little out of touch with the classroom, they think a lot more about the test scores and the big picture, when in reality, like, this child's a person and they go home and it's a lot about the child, but that also goes back to relationships and things like that. Some other lessons that I would say is that a lot of people discourage you from education, but in my opinion, it's definitely like the best place you can be. At the end of the day, there are people that are still very passionate about what you're passionate about if you are in education. So you just have to find them and kind of run with them, because there will be hard days, but then there will also be some really rewarding days that make it all worth it. And I would say another lesson is taking time for myself and kind of a whole mental health thing. I think that came about in COVID. People realized that you need time for yourself too. And I think that, sometimes leaving school at school is okay. And at the end of the day, you have to be a person too, and you have to live your life, even though that can be hard.
Yeah. You mentioned something that really speaks to my heart about seeing the humanity in your students rather than their scores. How do you plan on, clearly you're going to be a teacher leader. You've already sort of have that as your track record, and moving in, I'm sure that you'll continue to develop as a teacher leader. How do we successfully navigate a school system that says that test scores are the most important thing in terms of accountability and holding ourselves accountable to the public? They say that, test scores are sort of defining success. How do you push back against that and maintain the practices that are right for your kids? How do you thread those two needles? How do you push back, and also continue to do what's right for kids?
It's so hard. Yeah, that's a really hard question. I think that people should trust teachers, and people should trust teachers to know their class. They're going to know their class the best. So testing is going to happen. It has to happen. You have to learn things from it. There is a point to it, but I don't think we should put as much weight in it as we do, or as other people do. So I think that, not pressuring your class or not making it a huge deal. Sometimes not telling them if they're younger is okay, because otherwise they're going to get test anxiety and stuff, even as a first grader or second grader. And that starts pretty young. I mean, they're going to have to test for the rest of their life. So I think, in my opinion, like, informal observations, you can know where a child is a lot of different ways. You don't have to put a test in front of them. So that's kind of what we've been taught through my classes and through my experiences, that there are a lot of different ways you can test children because they get tested enough. That's hard. I think that's a really hard question. And I think we're all trying to figure it out. If you have the same, if we kind of have the same beliefs, we're all trying to figure that out, because there is a lot of weight in test scores, unfortunately.
Yeah, I always would say, I don't need 3 different tests to tell me if my child can add, multiply, divide, or subtract. I can look at them, give them a problem, and I will know. And I will know what I need to do to work with them. So I appreciate you putting that into the room. Before we wrap up, I just want to hear, what is the thing that you are the most excited about having your first classroom with students who are all yours? What's that thing that you're like, I can't wait? And it could be something small like the parent letter, but what is that thing that has you so excited?
I think I'm just excited to meet them. Like it's so crazy and surreal that I get my own little kiddos to be with me for a whole year. So I think like the first week, I'm just excited to meet them and get to know them and their families and build those relationships. And see them grow. I think that's going to be first grade. They make a big jump, and second grade they do too. So the early childhood grades, you get to see them grow so much, and I'm very excited about that.
Well, congratulations, Megan, on your graduation, and wish you the best as you move forward into your career. I know that you're going to be an amazing educator and also a great voice for our profession. Albert?
I love it. I appreciate you, Megan, and really have appreciated your time and getting to know you this semester as we continue this relationship as a first-year teacher. If you are out there and you're considering education as a profession for you, we want to make sure that you tap in and get to know us, tap into the movement, tap into Todd, Shoal, and I, and making sure that you really tap into all of the possibility and all of the benefits of just being an educator. And we also want to make sure that if you are a college student majoring in education, that you tap into becoming a member of the student SCEA. And right now, that is of no charge to you. Just go to bit.ly/join the student SCEA. Again, that's bit.ly/join the student SCEA. You can tap in, become a part of our family, start a chapter, and even become president like Megan was on her campus. And then for all of our full-time teachers, make sure you go to jointhescea.org, and we would love to have you become a part of our family as well. Megan, I want to say thank you again. We appreciate you, and I know that you're going to do some amazing things, and you're going to be closer to me. So we're going to get to kind of hang out and have conversation as well. Todd, anything else from you?
Tell your dad I said hi. And again, good luck as you start your career. It's an amazing, amazing career. You're going to have so much impact and so many incredible memories and connections, and wish you the best.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much. If you're listening to this podcast, we appreciate you, and make sure you tune into the next episode.
Everybody.